Oh, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to Spirit Plays More Spiral Nights. Before we begin, please click the like button, subscribe to see more in the future. It helps me out a lot, encourages me to keep going. Philosophy, video games, truth, critical thinking, right? Because it's one thing to, like what you're doing right now, to participate, or rather be a spectator. It's another thing that what I'm trying to do, at least sort of, is encourage critical thinking. Our school systems, right? By the way, before I just jump into it, I'm trying to get some radiance so we can actually have something to power up our ancient shield, blitz needle, and the raging, misogynistic, bigoted tortoise that we have. I don't have any other hardcore. It's the weapon to end all weapons. It's 3 in 1. Why get any other weapon? You're good. But anyway, we're getting radiance, so we might do this. We might do the prestige. I don't know. I don't feel like doing cat hunting. I mean, the cats keep coming back. Spay and neuter your pets, dude, and this will not happen. You'll get original content instead of overpopulation of the animal populace. I don't know. Anyway, so the whole goal of the school system is to, teach you how to think, give you the basic stepping stool, the basic stepping blocks you need to hopefully form your own opinions, do critical thinking, not given to indoctrination, not to silence conversation, but rather to understand it. I just recently gave, I'm going to go off on like 3,000 tangents, but that's what I do in playing this game, so I mean, you guys can bear with it, I guess. I recently just gave blood, and I gave plasma. I didn't have to shoot it a second time, but I'm trigger happy when I say. I gave plasma. Oop, let me do this. We have to go to it from the other way, though. And I got to read this book. I've done something, and I probably mentioned this before, so please forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But I'm reading for pleasure because you gotta sit there. I'm a slow bleeder. Look, and I probably mentioned this before. I'm just gonna mention it again because why not? So because I bleed slow, it takes me usually takes you like half hour, maybe something like that to do it, but it takes me like an hour and 10 minutes to give them all the plasma they need to get the max amount of money. I paid for my gas today. Being without a job, it kind of sucks, but if I can regiment myself to not spend money on like anything, literally pay for stuff with my own blood, or I guess plasma. I keep saying blood, but it's legit plasma. Then I think we'll be fine. So like no snacks. I'm losing weight, not eating healthy, but I'm losing weight. Turns out ramen noodles are the worst for you. But anyway. There was this book. So the reason I brought that up, don't worry, this will all coalesce eventually. Is I'm reading this book. It's called The Highwayman. It's by one of my favorite authors, R.A. Salvador. He wrote the Dritz series. So if you haven't read those, I strongly recommend it. Usually when I read books, I read with a pen or a notebook, or a pen and a notebook beside me. Like for the C.S. Lewis Institute, I'm reading a book. I just finished reading 4 books. I'm 4 months ahead. So that way I can take notes and basically combine my time into more of my own projects. Like I have a martial arts teaching private lesson thing that I have that's going to be coming up here soon. It starts in April. Sorry, we have an end date there, but me and a guy are meeting every 2 weeks to figure out what's going on. I'm meeting with a Taekwondo instructor here pretty soon. Tomorrow, actually, 8 a.m. at the coffee shop. I hope I didn't have to go down there. To talk about this kind of stuff. To talk about, because he's more experienced than me. He's like 10, 15 years on me. So that's all interesting. So I'm reading this book called The Highwayman. Oh my gosh, there's some horrible stuff that goes on here, so I'm not going to regurgitate a lot of it. A lot of books, and books are amazingly written because they're not written in the context of seeing, right? You can have a guy thinking something, and then he just does something because of his thought process. Meanwhile, in the visual world, like the movie theater that we're all accustomed to, you have to actually show this stuff. How do you show someone thinking? Even though you know what it's about, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough. Oh my gosh, Verlaine's actually earning her keep. This is crazy. Even though you know what it's about, you know what I mean? It's a little bit different. So the book starts out where it's this missionary of the Blessed Brother Abel. Bran, I see his name, but I don't phonetically pronounce these things. Same with the Bible scripture names, the ones that are in length. I don't pronounce them out loud, so it just doesn't keep in my brain. But he goes to this area and he realizes that, hey, turns out that this guy's teachings actually have synergy with other teachings. It's, you take that for what it is, but the one of the things that God has promised in our life here is that it's written on our hearts. And you can see, like, when they've done polls on everybody in the entire world. Can we do something a little bit better? Mike, you want to help me out here? When they do polls in the entire world of every single social structure having two of the same core values, specifically that adultery is wrong and theft is wrong, and that, believe it or not, some of the societies perverted themselves away from thinking that man's a sovereign being, which means you can kill your neighbor. That was one of the biggest things that the Norse tribes struggled with when they first heard the gospel. What do you mean I can't kill my neighbor? Like theft and adultery made sense, but you can't kill your neighbor? Like, what the crap? But anyway, so he discovered the synergies, and he spent like years copying down the book, interpreting it, and learning that the messages of God can be seen in other ways, and they valued the same things, but in a different way. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, obviously the parallel we have here is the Christianity, monotheism, versus what we've read. There's too many little dots here. Come on. Versus the Muslim faith. Why aren't they the same? Do they worship the same God? I would say no, because both gods act differently according to what they do. One changes their mind, one does not. So I'm not going to get in. I don't know the deep theology of the book of themselves, but I am going to give you a story that was presented to me that I thought was really neat. Oh my gosh. So he comes back after his long journey expecting to talk with very wise, understanding people, because they sent him off. He was to be the missionary, and so he came back, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, somebody actually came back from that country." Apparently, like they were. It's blatant racism. They were just savages, and there was more. Really? Okay, there we go. It was more like they weren't even sure they could write. Turns out they're like They're like Buddhist monks who harness the power of chi for magical powers. It's the D&D world, so I mean you can understand that maybe. So they harness magical powers. You find your chi center line. You connect yourself with the chi, and that gives, like, she was the lady he married was a warrior. Like, she was crazy awesome, and they're like half their religion is like learning how to forge a weapon and be one with it. I know, a fighting combat, right? So he found the synergy. He claimed to have found the synergy. He comes back. They walk back through all of this area. And this is actually the premise of it. The story gets really deep. It actually spans a couple generations. And it would only make sense if someone outside of time was reading it, like myself. I'm not saying I'm God. I'm just saying the context presented to me in the story is outside of itself to make it more meaningful. Like, thinking about the guy's parent. It kind of revolves around this kid who, at the moment, he's like an invalid, but he can read. So he's not completely an idiot, but he has definite physical maladies. And the reason why he has physical maladies is because his mom, Sen Wee, who was the lady that the priest, Mr. Brand, married, she saw somebody that was poisoned. I'm going to end up telling the whole book here. She saw someone that was like stripped up naked, and she was caught in adultery. And so the punishment, and their old religion there before the blessed brother Abel got in there, was to bite him with like poison asps that paralyzed you, string you up naked, and wait until you die of exposure. Like, wow, that's crazy. But it's the old way, right? That's what they kept saying. It's like the old way. So, they claim mastery over, at least overpassing. They before the blessed brother Abel. I keep saying that because I don't know what else to call it. They worship like they call them the ancient ones, and they have more, I would think, a Muslim view of how. I couldn't do it. Of how God views people, which is literally like you're an ant. Well, what are you to God? That's why it's one of the reasons that Muslims cannot fathom the Christian. Oh, jeez, almost didn't see you, punk. The Christian view that God is everything and is everywhere. Yeah, and they also puts a bad taste in their mouth for like pantheism. God can't be everything. You think he's in poop? Like, they have a profound sense of respect for God, but at the same time, they never know what he's going to do because he has a big perspective and you're an ant. So anyway, they end up helping her. She's strung up after being bitten by all these wasps. I hope I didn't have to shoot that. And Singwi helps her. Because there's also this force called the Prowi, which are like dwarves that get power and immortality by soaking their hats in the blood of people. That hasn't gone into the context of that whole, like, how that's even possible, but it's a realm of magic, so we can just, oh my gosh, we can just have that as it is. So a group of them, the Prowries, go up to this girl who's stripped up naked, make fun of her, and then just literally cut a hole in her leg and start to hold their cap up to her, and it's bleeding her out. You're like, ah, and the lady just like, she just jumps out of her hiding spot because they were watching this happen. And she starts taking on 5 of them. She's this tiny little 100-pound girl taking on 5 people that are like 50 pounds more than me. So like 250, 300 pounds. 5 of them. And she takes 2 of them out. And then, what happens? Oh, then the, Bran, like, he helps out with his magical priest powers because priests have magic. Go get him, Pelaine. You're doing a great job. But she took, in order to heal the girl, she healed her malady a little bit with some of her chi powers. And she took the poison into her own body. But she was pregnant at the time. Pregnant with I forget what the guy's name, the young man's name is, but pregnant with a dude. This way, I don't have to shoot stuff if I go this way. And so the kid, it goes past several years. It turns out she dies in childbirth, giving the last of her essence to have this kid live. And then the guy dies never knowing his kid. Like, he gets killed by some of the Prowries on the road to another temple they sent him to because they accused him of blasphemy. But that's going beside the point. But you don't understand that, and it doesn't hit you as deep unless you transcend that generation. We as a people here think this world is all about us, and we're trained to think this. Critical thinking, as George Carlin said, the people who have control over you have no use for that. They don't need you to be a critical thinker. Contrary to what Christ says, is, search the scriptures. No, I don't want to misquote Christ, obviously, but it's a religion based on reason, truth, and love. So let me back up again. The boy's father, the guy who married the young Sing-Wee, the priest who found out the synergies of this religion, comes back to his temple with a whole translated book and says, look, there's synergies here. And they're like, you went to be a missionary, not to get converted and come back. They're like, well, here, let's read over this book. And they're like, you think that the blessed brother Abel didn't have the truth already? He's just like, so in that moment of the book, every single, like, I was just like, oh my gosh, the author is painting Christianity to be this huge, biased, bigoted thing. But then I'm like, no, he's not. What he's painting is a picture of people who have not tested themselves. If someone comes to you claiming he's found the truth, and you legit are interested in truth, even if you think you already found a version of it, would you not be so secure in your absolutism that no matter what somebody would say, you could listen to them, and not only would you be either, one of two things will happen, right? You'll either find truth in a different perspective that resonates more with reality than what you already know, or your convictions about what you already know, I don't have to shoot them, your convictions about what you already know will be made more solid. Either way, you win by listening. You lose with cancel culture. You lose by not listening. If they do have something authentic, you are immediately dismissing them. This is called prejudice. Martin Luther King is very descriptive about this in his book, Strength to Love. You are prejudging. That is a weak-minded man. A weak-minded man does not want to take the work to actually know his fellow man. A weak-minded man wants to just, I have it. I don't need to know anymore. That's it. But that kind of mentality also, not only does it cancel out of laziness or out of rage or out of emotion, it also says only my world matters. It never seeks to understand, even though our minds are so finite. But it was just an interesting take. So this is me reading for pleasure, right? Turns out I read a fictional book that's loosely based on religious practice, but the whole book starts out with this guy. It draws you in with action, and then so far, like 60% of the book has been non-action, like literally zero action anywhere in it, except for the prince of the city who can literally take people if he wants to, because that's the rule of the land, which I don't understand. I never did, but you can see it in the world, and it has happened in the world. Like they try to take this one kid from this guy, and they're just like, yeah, he's the Lord, he can do this, and he has all the royalty on his side. And then it pictures another scene where they're coming back from war, from trying to chase the Prowries, and like there's wounded soldiers everywhere, and the higher ups, the kings and the generals, are just stepping over their people, like, whatever. This is what happens. And the Prince Pride's very interesting, because even though he's trying to learn how to rule using this mentality, he's fighting in the front line with his troops. But he still like dismisses them. So I don't know. At this point in the book, he's kind of like, I don't know if he's gonna join in with that crazy chaos or what's going on there. I'm just not sure. It's very weird. I hope he becomes one of the guys who resonates and sees that this is the thing. Ari Salvador, thing about Dritz is, in a world like that, and I think he's kind of painting the same thing, but I believe this is just like a one-off. It's its own short story. In a world like that, where you other somebody so much to the point where you don't recognize their divine sovereignty inside them, even though by denying theirs, you deny yourselves, in effect. Because what if you were born in that situation? You can either choose not to understand and just accept life for where it is, which is a weak mind, or you can choose to understand, which will open you up in your empathetic state. This is why kids love mommy. Mommy cares about pain. Mommy understands pain. Mommy seeks to make things better. Daddy cares not. Daddy wants you to be stronger. Daddy wants you to suck it up, buttercup. The world, because Daddy understands the world is not going to care. We almost took a lot of damage there, but we didn't. Dad, the world is not going to care. It just straight up won't. So you need to not say ow. My mother, I know I got a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, so you take this with a grain of salt. You don't say ow. Is your hand still attached to your wrist? Then what is the problem? Imagine me saying this to my 4 or 9-year-old. I'm like, I don't understand. Why are you screaming? What is wrong? I got a boo-boo. Is it bleeding? Yeah, alright, well, let's get a Band-Aid. No, it's not bleeding, but it hurt a lot. Okay, can you walk? And this is like little obvious scripts. The other day, the best example I had the other day was when my daughter was, careful, sitting next to me, and she was sleepy. She'd just gotten up. She was like, can I watch you play? I was doing some commentary. I forget what game I was playing. And I turned my chair, and I bump her chair, and she goes, ow! Like, she was ready with a knee-jerk reaction of complaint. And I'm like, did that hurt you? My chair hit your chair. She said, it hurt my ears. So I... like, what the heck? It turns out it's psychologically bad for you to be weak-willed, weak-minded, weak anything else. And so this is the very nature of cancel culture, right? It assumes the world is all about you. It assumes the world cares all about you because you're used to having a voice that you can put in some sort of abject permanence on the internet with the Facebook altar you build to yourself. Oh crap! Yeah, that hurt. Can we make it? Oh, no, there's a giant thing. Oh, okay, we didn't make it. But it assumes a lot. It assumes only your stuff has value. And if someone doesn't recognize that value, then not only do you need to quiet them, you need to crush them, destroy them, so they can never talk ever again. It's not enough that you make them disbelieve. This is the nature of envy. It's why some people think, ooh, careful. It's why some people think envy is actually a worse sin than jealousy, because at least jealousy wants to acquire the object. Both are bad. Don't make me, I'm not trying to tell you one's better than the other. They're both bad. Jealousy at least wants to acquire the object. Envy doesn't want you to have it so bad, they'd rather destroy it. There's nothing good comes out of envy. Only destruction. So building up cases for being stronger rather than being weaker. because things are interpreted a certain way in the cancel culture. You know, it says, what do you mean? Or hate speech, right? Because hate speech destroys conversation. It's saying you're just a bigot. Boom. You labeled me? That's called prejudice instead of trying to understand my argument or bringing reasonable defense to it. Logic and reason are very important. We have a God that makes us... It's like we're wired for this kind of thing, right? I put my hand in boiling water. I shouldn't have fired you there, but it did work. I put my hand in boiling water. It burns. The reasonable outcome of this is I don't put my hand in boiling water anymore. If I want to start denying reason, then I can say, nah, I can do it anyway. What do you mean your objective truth? Saying that it's going to hurt my hand is out there. I don't have to believe it. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't. I don't know. All I'm saying is, we're built on rational reason. An unexamined life is a life not worth living. If you're not examining the things you do and saying that's good or bad and just going on instinct, well, I mean, animals do that. They don't stop and question things. My cat he's like, I deserve wet food in the morning because that's what you give me every morning. Like he didn't really come to a rational conclusion. He just like, this is where my instincts take me. You woke up every morning for several years at like 3 or 4 or 5 a.m. You fed me at a certain time. This is the expectation because this is how things work. You know, he can adapt here and there to little things, but it's my cat. It's when I sit down and I start talking, I'm not going to move for a while. If I don't move, I can be a lap to be sat upon. This is just how things are, and he gets angry when things aren't like this. He's like, why are you getting up? The usual, you know what I mean? even animals are subject to the rules of logic. Maybe not so much critical thinking. That's where we have the superiority of reason. But I love cats because they're dumb. I like dogs too, but the dogs aren't as dumb. And I still think cats' eyesight is probably the worst part about them. Because I swear I'll make a loud noise and they'll look at it like, where did that come from? Like, you didn't see this giant thing in my hand that... Like, they'll watch something very large that I throw up in the air and then wait till it hits the ground till they run. Like, you didn't see it? The loud noise scared you more than anything else. I don't know. I love cats. Anyway. We did it. The dreams and nightmares. Didn't even use a spark, yo. Well, we got a freeze vial. It's our reward, thank goodness. I'll pop on some coffee here. All that to say, don't ever neglect teaching yourself. So that all came from talking about critical thinking and how it's important that schools teach you how to think. This is no longer happening. When a society that's supposed to educate you teaches you what to think, that is indoctrination, no matter how you look at it. We can argue our way to God through reason. You can do the same with reason the other way. But to present, this is called the sin of omission. Our media is just really good at this. But to present only one side of the equation and say there are no others, that is an unexamined life. That is biased in the best degree, in any degree, really. Holy radiance. Give me more. Boom, 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 boom. None for you, land. Your weapons are already fully heated. Get out of my face. Well, I guess we already got all the radiance we needed in that area over there. Maybe a spark? Oh, please be merciful and generous. Eternal orbs are neat. Too bad I can't sell any of this stuff. Boom, boom, boom. We just got 3 eternal orbs. I'm complaining because I want a spark. We use them way more than we do eternal orbs. That's okay. That's okay. We'll take a victory lap around Haven. Thank goodness we got another potion here. Ultra stun vial. Beautiful. 39 radiance. That's like a lot. If I have anything worth heating, we'll pop that in here too. So my kids are out of public school just because the indoctrination stuff going on, the sheer lunacy of the stuff going on in the teachers union, the plexiglass stuff they're building around desks. You can't see in the front of the school anymore in some of this stuff. But we also have to keep in mind, at least in America, I know a lot of you watching this don't really aren't in the States so much, but a lot of the stuff in the media is only on the coastlines. They ignore Middle America. Like 75 million people voted for Trump. They lived in Middle America. The biggest thing he did. Now you can think about what you want about the man, but the thing that excuse me, there we go. The thing that he did was he saw Middle America and he saw, yo, these guys' jobs are being taken overseas. He brought jobs back here. Darn it, we just can't do it. He brought jobs back here, and believe it or not, the suicide rate and the unemployment rate went way down. Now we did COVID, and the suicide rate and the unemployment rate go way up. It's daddy. Anyway, I think I'll do it for this one. Just a short one today. Once again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Click the like button, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. I'll see you next time. Take care.